The psychedelic revolution is here. If you want to integrate your visionary experiences into your purpose, get clear on your entrepreneurial path, and help people while you do what you love, then this podcast is for you. Welcome to The Psychedelic Entrepreneur, Medicine for These Times. I'm your host, Beth Weinstein. I'm a spiritual business coach, 3-time entrepreneur, and a lifelong student of psychedelics and sacred plant medicines. You carry your own unique medicine, and your medicine is what we need for these times. This podcast will help you to share your medicine so you can create transformation in the world. Listen in on conversations with psychedelic leaders, changemakers, and conscious entrepreneurs who are living proof that a better world is possible when you follow your heart and live in alignment with your soul. Today, I'm so honored to be talking to Sandra Ingerman. Sandra, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate it.
It's a real delight. Finally made it.
Finally. I'm so honored. I've been trying to ask her for an interview for years and, life, but here we are. Thank you so much. So if you don't know Sandra's work, you must. She is an award-winning author of 12 books, including Soul Retrieval, Mending the Fragmented Self, Medicine for the Earth, How to Heal Personal and Environmental Toxins, and Walking in Light, The Everyday Empowerment of Shamanic Life. She is the presenter of 8 audio programs presented by Sounds True, and she is the creator of the Transmutation app. Sandra is a world-renowned teacher of shamanism and has been teaching for more than 30 years. She has taught workshops internationally on shamanic journeying, healing, and reversing environmental pollution using spiritual methods. Sandra is recognized for bridging ancient cross-cultural healing methods into our modern culture, addressing the needs of our times. Sandra is devoted to teaching people how we can work together as a global community to bring about positive change for the planet. She is passionate about helping people to reconnect with nature. Since the 1980s, thousands of people have healed from past and present traumas through classic cross-cultural shamanic healing method Sandra teaches called Soul Retrieval. She is also a licensed marriage and family therapist and professional mental health counselor. She's board certified expert on traumatic stress. She was also awarded the 2007 Peace Award from the Global Foundation for Integrative Medicine. Sandra was also chosen as one of the top 10 spiritual leaders of 2013 by Spirituality and Health magazine. You can check out all her links right here on this webpage. We have her social media, and she has a lot of amazing courses and programs. Be sure to check them out. Sandra, I always love to know, how did you make shamanism your career? Like, how did you get started on this path?
Well, actually, it goes back to my childhood of starting with working with plant spirit medicine. I grew up in New York, Brooklyn, New York, in the 1960s during a very volatile time. I know we're in a very volatile time politically, but for those of us growing up, what we were seeing in the world was really unacceptable. Marijuana started coming into Brooklyn very early, and I started smoking at the age of 13 and started taking LSD every single day, every day for years, probably starting at the age 16. And so I grew up in an immigrant neighborhood where people were committing suicide all the time, big struggles. And here I was having all these mind-expanding experiences starting when I was 13 years old, that what I was seeing in the world was not correct. This was not reality. This was some dimension of illusion, and I was showing how to create bliss in the world. And so I remember sitting on the couch one day and saying, we've got it all wrong. We've got it all wrong. We came here to experience joy. We came here to experience the beauty of this amazing planet. I also had 3 near-death experiences in the middle of all my drug stuff. I was hit by lightning at the age of 7. I drove my car off a cliff. I drowned in Mazatlan and had CPR and was brought back to life and had a full-blown near-death experience. And I had amazing experiences of oneness on LSD and mushrooms. And so I lived in a world that was so opposite from what I was experiencing on a spiritual level. But I didn't grow up in a family I could talk about this stuff. I had friends who we talked about all of this, and I moved to the Haight Ashbury thinking that life would be better there, and moved into a crazy commune that I lived in for years, and met Terrence, McKenna, and Ralph Metzner, and we all hung out together, and Michael Harner. And so the bottom line of what happened for me, to bring this all together so I'm not rambling, is I got open to a spiritual world, but in a world that didn't embrace it. Everything was about survival. My parents were just trying to survive. They couldn't. My mother said, I can't focus on spiritual things. I have to put food on the table. And so I couldn't find a spiritual path. I just had all these amazing near-death experiences of oneness and bliss and being one with God on LSD while I was taking finals at Brooklyn College. But I had no path. And so it was an amazing gift for me to, just by accident, I was going to the California Institute of Integral Studies. At the time it was named California Institute of Asian Studies and was not an accredited school. Somebody told me some guy was coming out from Connecticut to teach a workshop and I could get 2 easy units. I was working 60 hours to put myself through school. And so I went for those 2 units. I didn't know what they were, and it was a course on shamanic journeying, and it saved my life. Through the drumming, through the journeying, I was able to meet helping spirits who gave me the practical answers I was looking for, because on all my experiences on medicine, everything was so grand, everything was so huge. It wasn't like, what can I do tomorrow to better my life, you know? And that's what shamanism gave to me, was a path that showed me how to live as a human being on this earth, because I didn't get a roadmap like many people didn't.
Oh my God, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm just in awe. Wow, what a fascinating journey. And thankfully, right? Thankfully, you had all these experiences that brought you to this. But I'm curious, as someone who's a renowned shamanic teacher and healer and practitioner, and you've had all this past experience with psychedelics, do you believe that it's possible for us to access these same realms without any actual drugs or plant medicines or anything? And then also, where does the soul come into this journey of the psychedelic journey or the shamanic journey? Like, is this, what is your beliefs around, like you teach soul retrieval, around the soul coming through, or is that even part of the belief that you teach?
I've actually, that bio you read is a little older, and I've actually been teaching for 40 years. So I've been able to observe an amazing amount, and I've been able to experience an amazing amount for myself. I was taught shamanism by using a drum and not by using psychedelics and medicine and plant spirit medicine. I'm more work with the lineage of Central Asia, and I do know that they work with mushrooms and their plant spirits there, but they also use the drum. So in many shamanic cultures in South America, you see plant spirit medicine being used more. But in many shamanic cultures, you see the drum, the didgeridoo, click sticks, bells, bowls being used to shift that state of consciousness from a beta thinking state into a theta state that takes you into the same unrealms that plant spirit medicine does. But the thing about using the drum, and I was telling you, I did my very first radio interview with Terrence McKenna when I was 29, but we were friends, so he had pity, he had mercy on me. Um, and we did a radio interview together in Berkeley on the difference of using drums and psychedelic medicine to enter into non ordinary states. And so the point that I was trying to make, obviously, I'm into plant spirit medicine, so I wasn't putting it down. But the point that I was trying to make is so many people, and especially today, are going into plant spirit medicine, having these huge experiences, but again, we need a roadmap of how to live our daily life. And I find that with the drum or other shamanic instruments, the rattle, you still can experience a state of oneness with the drum. But you can also talk to spirits and say, I'm having a real issue at work and I need some advice on how to keep my job. I'm sick and I need some help. I'm having a terrible time in my relationship. And so plant medicine will give you a very big picture on all of this, a huge picture on all of this, and put you into an amazing state of hope and everything is possible. But what about keeping to everyday tasks? And so I teach shamanism using the drum and asking my students to use shamanic instruments to go into the unseen realms and have very practical talks with their helping spirits, besides having those big esoteric experiences.
Oh, this is so beautiful. Yeah, this is just showing that there are different methodologies of accessing, and really you keep mentioning the word spirit, which of course I feel that the mass media that keeps talking about plant medicine or psychedelics or any of this misses that conversation a lot around that there's actually a spirit connection. It's not just take a drug and your whole life will change and then that's that and then now everything's good. It's like there's a lot more to it, this deeper level relationships. I'm curious, have you found that shamanic journeying and the non-psychoactive, like non-ordinary states of consciousness that are accessible through drumming, can they help people really let's say find their purpose, like the concept of soul and soul retrieval, because it kind of seems like this is what happened to you on some level, right? Like you were on this path and then you clearly found your purpose in life because you've made it this 40-year, career. But there's so many people, especially here in the US, that struggle with really being in this misalignment of, kind of like your mom and my family too, like having to just work jobs to make the money, to put the food on the table. And it wasn't about joy and it wasn't about happiness. And now we're in this different, maybe shifting world where people are starting to question what it's all about and how do I find my purpose or find work that aligns with me? Like, what are your views on like how that is intertwined with the soul and how it can be accessed through these different modalities?
Well, our soul is our life force. It's that part of ourselves that keeps us alive. And it's actually our soul that makes decisions about our life. We're making decisions through ego and we're getting ourselves into trouble constantly. But our soul has that blueprint that every plant, that every tree, that every animal has, that this is how you get through these times. We actually have that blueprint in us. And so there's a couple of responses I have. One, I have worked with thousands of people dealing with soul loss. And I've taught thousands of practitioners too. So we have a tremendous amount of resources for people dealing with soul loss. And soul loss comes from any trauma, emotional, physical, mental abuse, and accidents, living in the world that we're in right now, having an alarm clock go off in the middle of the night. Anything that causes shock to your system creates soul loss, where a piece of your soul goes away to survive the experience because you don't want to get the full impact of the pain. So if I'm going to be in a car accident, I want to leave my body. I don't want to get that full impact. So soul loss is a wonderful thing that happens to us. It's how we survive pain. But from a shamanic point of view, we don't get those pieces back. Not most of them. We have to get some of them back, or we'd all be zombies. And maybe we are living in a dimension that we're not even aware of. And we're looking at planetary soul loss. Who would say, who is fully embodied with their soul would ever say that money is more important than saving an animal, not having animals go into extinction. We need to put in money for our survival, and we don't care about anything else. So we're dealing with massive soul loss, and so psychedelics can really kind of help us see the shadow states that we've entered into. But again, are we working with somebody who's going to help us open up to that big picture and help us with those big steps, especially if we're getting energies and frequencies that are too big for our nervous system? Again, with shamanism and with the drumming, we can really make practical steps. And so, in pretty much all my workshops and my book, Walking in Light, and my book, Book of Ceremony, and some other books that I've written, I actually teach people how to do a journey. And how I talk about this is that before we were born, we were sitting out there in the universe looking down at this grand planet, a beautiful planet, water and trees and the sun and the moon and the stars and chocolate, all the chocolate we want to eat. And so we said, oh, I'm going to come here, but this is what I want to do with my life. And this is my destiny. And so we get born into this parent's life, and the very first thing that happens to us is we start getting projected on. Oh, you look like you're good at this. You look like you're good at that. My principal called my mother up and told my mother that I had no gifts to share in this lifetime and that she should put me in trade school and just help me get through life. I mean, people just project on us. And so the metaphor I use, it's like a sculpture that just has clay that keeps being thrown on us. And we lose our identity, and our soul is what has that blueprint. This is what you're passionate about. This is what you came here to do. So I take people through a series of journeys to go back before they were born. And I call it soul remembering, to go back and really look at what did you come in to do beyond what your teachers, your parents, your family, society, we were all told to just color within the lines. And now it's a time to not color within the lines and to find the passion of why we came here. So I do this through a series of journeys, and people get phenomenal information. And so there are other doorways that we can walk through. There's the doorways of shamanism, working with altered states through music, dancing, and singing. And then there's the cultures that do work with plant medicine. But the thing is, grounding. Everything is about grounding. And with shamanic journeying, we can ground people a little bit easier than we can with a lot of people who have had plant spirit medicine. And I'm really support the psychedelic movement. It saved my life. I'm who I am because of it. And so I'm not putting it down at all, but we're dealing with a generation that's getting blown away and are going into psychotic states, and that's not what we need right now. And those of us shamanic practitioners, we're getting overwhelmed by requests from parents to help out kids who went down to the jungle but then got no help afterwards. And we can't help them. We'd have to have them move in with us and take care of them. There's a lot of sides to this.
I'm so glad you brought that up. It's come up a lot. It's been interesting that you said grounding. You know, grounding is so important. I'm of the theory that this is what our entire planet needs, right? Like there's so many disembodied people, and psychedelics have this huge growth and they are beautiful. I feel the same way. Like I probably would be long dead by now if it weren't for these medicines. But, you know, what happens is, especially, you know, you combine the Western mind with like a large experience of psychedelics that can actually really take you more out of your body and do almost more harm to your nervous system than good. You know, there's kind of a balance. And this is a lot of the conversation is about, well, is it about having these huge, you know, DMT experiences that blow you out of your body for sometimes years? You know, it's like, I've experienced that too, where, you know, was completely taken to another state for like over a year, and it really didn't serve me. You know, it wasn't positive. But this is the talk of integration and embodiment practices, and also the awareness of like, well, how much do you really need? Because I think this Western mindset of like more, you know, like we all want to just take and grab and more and more and more. It's like this, you know, the patterning of society. But I'm curious, you know, what you would say about that. Like, what are your views on, I've also been told that, and I'm curious what you say about this, that some of these psychedelic experiences can actually like fragment your soul. Someone said something to me once a few years ago about, you know, maybe your soul is moving faster than your body can keep up with because of the amount of psychedelics. I mean, what are your views on this?
Well, the advice that I give my students who ask me if they should try plant medicine is I tell them to see plant medicine as a door opener. It opens the door for us because some people can really do the whole thing. They could have full-blown plant medicine experiences with the drum. I've seen it with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students around. I've taught everywhere around the world. And I've seen people go into near-death experiences and merge with God just through the drum. But some people are so stuck in their mind and so stuck in ego that they need something a little bit more than a drum beat. And so I say that if you really want to experience this, see the medicine as door openers. Like mushrooms are my greatest ally. And what they tell me is they just open doors. That's all they do is open doors. But once you get the message, so I was at a Grateful Dead concert in Berkeley back in maybe very late 70s, early 80s. And I was, you know, communing with God, and my kidneys were killing me, and my body was hurting me. And I said, Sandy, every time you take LSD, you see God, and everything is unconditional love. And your kidneys are hurting so hard. Would you please get the message and hang up the phone? And so I think that's the point, is that a plant spirit medicine can give us these amazing messages, but then we have to hang up the phone and we have to learn how to live the life that the plant spirits have shared with us, not study it or write it down in journals, but become different people and find spiritual paths that are very grounded. Because if your frequency, what I teach people is you can't keep raising your frequency and not be doing exercise and taking care of your diet, because it's like putting your fingers into a 240 voltage. You're gonna blow out, you know? And so we have to work on body, mind, and spirit in conjunction so that everything is being strengthened at the same time. But the point is, especially shamanism is a way of life. It's not methods. It's not something we do like yoga or meditation. It's practices that you live every second of your life. We have to really learn how to walk grounded on this earth. And we need a strong body, especially right now, in order to do that. So I just throw caution to the wind and tell people, use your door openness, get that new perspective, but then find ways that are really practical and grounded for you to continue your spiritual work.
Oh, so well said. And I think this is such an important takeaway. This has come up in pretty much every conversation. People say slightly different things, but really about this idea of integrating it, grounding, getting back into the body, because it isn't really about like just leaving. It's like, this is how we actually put these gifts that come through to practical use in this 3D, I keep calling it like, it's a 3D, it's the earth plane. Even though we don't want to be here, maybe we're still here, we can't deny it. But let me ask, you've mentioned, by the way, it's the tagline for my podcast is called Medicine for These Times. And you've mentioned this word, these times. And I always love to ask these bigger questions of, what do you see is happening on the planet right now when it comes to the growth of, let's say, plant medicines and shamanism and other ancestral practices and spiritual awakening, and where do you think this is going? And do you think it's positive? Like, do you think the growth in the psychedelics and the shamanism is all helping us evolve? And what are some bigger perspectives on the large scale, people call it many different things, the birth of the new earth, the ascension, the initiation, the portal, but what do you think of it all?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say that I was in a ceremony many, many years ago with some of the teachers I trained, and I was not on medicine. I was doing the drum, and I did really get that it was the plants, because shamanism dates back over 100,000 years. It was the plants that taught shamans how to practice shamanism. So I just wanted to put that in there because it's an important thing for me. The problem is, and my husband had the opportunity to teach yoga at Krishnamurti's school in England. So he got to know Krishnamurti, and Krishnamurti said, when a spiritual practice becomes too popular, it becomes vulgar. And that's what's happened now. My experience of teaching shamanism is so different than teaching shamanism now. We had real pilgrimages of, it wasn't just hippies, but we had doctors, lawyers, politicians, nurses, housewives, clergy, priests, nuns making pilgrimages to, they really had to travel, they had to come up with the room and board, their airfare flights, and now everything is online and it's lost its sacredness. We're still seeing a lot of miracles with shamanic healing, but it's different than what we were seeing. And the people who are coming in need more, instead of how to heal using shamanism, they first need to be taught how to connect with nature, because shamanism is a nature-based practice, because we are nature. We're not connected to nature. We are nature. And they need to learn the simple tools that actually children were taught when they were growing up, of how to work with their words, their thoughts, their daydreams, so they don't get into trouble doing spiritual work. So we're starting at a different place. On one level, it's really wonderful that people are turning to this work. On another level, I can see it losing its power. And I had a group of spirits called the Ancient Ones come through me for a bunch of months, which was an interesting process. And they're billions of years old. And what they said to me is that people don't need the magic of shamanism right now. So the magic has gone away for right now. I can't remember their exact words, but this is what they were saying. They were saying when the earth has changed and people need the magic again, the magic will come back. It gives me a sense of relief, because it breaks my heart to see what's happening with the popularization of shamanism today. And you can see the same thing with plant medicine happening. It isn't the spiritual journey that it was. It was, what can I get? And the high that comes and the escape that comes from life. And so we're in a time in shamanism, it would be called a time of dismemberment, where basically our whole lives are being destroyed, dismembered, discreated, dissolved, so that we let go of old behaviors that are not working anymore, and that we're reborn into people who are carrying more light into the world, honor, respect, love for all of life, not just for ourselves and for others, but understanding that we're connected to every living being that exists in one web of life. And so it's sad to see what's happening with plant spirit medicine and with shamanism, but I know that the Ancient Ones were right, and when we need the magic will be ready, right for us to give us our next steps and give us the roadmap of, now that the rebirth has happened, and I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime. When it happens, that people will have the tools to know exactly how to thrive and not just survive. So I do have hope that, at least, although the magic is being buried for now, that it will come back again.
Oh, thank you for sharing. I know I was going to ask, well, things are, there is a fast movement, or at least it feels like it. There's a lot of energies. There's the sun, the earth. I mean, lots of transitions happening. We, whether people all see it or not, or can feel it or not, it's there. And there is this question of well, if it's moving fast, is there going to be this great transformation so quick? Is it going to be in our lifetime, or is it going to take thousands and thousands of years? I'm curious, and I don't want to keep you too long, but I'm curious. I mean, no one knows anything really, right?
That's the bottom line, is no one knows. I guess what I can say is I work with, in shamanism, we work with different helping spirits. And one of my helping spirits is the Egyptian goddess Isis. And she came to me in a vision quest back in the 1980s. And after I fasted on fruit for 30 days and no food or water for 4 days and nights, she came to me and told me that she was coming to help bring balance back and harmony and peace back to the planet. So she doesn't write my books, but she basically informs me of what I need to be sharing. She designs all my workshops, and what she keeps telling me over and over again, and I've been writing this in my newsletter for years, is that the future is created from the present. And so every present decision that we make changes the future. So there's absolutely no way to know what's going to happen in the future because it's all based on our present decisions right at this very moment.
Beautiful. And this is why it's so important to ground and be in the present moment, because and you know, this is my prayer and hope for humanity, the planet, all the beings, and you know, the plants, the animals, is this, that we can really be in that present and really be grounded and feel that connection and be in the relationship, so we can make, you know, really think through each and every decision we make as a collective, you know, because it really does take each and every one of us. A lot of this series is about this, like, where is, you know, how is this journey going to shape you and your soul and your, you know, heart-centeredness and your conscious decisions that will shape what you bring to the world, what you do in the world, and how, you know, every little decision, it has this ripple effect in the world, on society, whether you actually can see it or not. So that's my prayer. And Sandra, this has been amazing. I could talk to you for a million hours, but I want to give you an opportunity to share, you know, where can people find you? What do you have coming up? I know you always have, you know, you have the Shift Summit or the Shift course that runs, I think, all the time. But yeah, tell people where they can maybe buy some of your work or get involved.
Due to the COVID, I have to be a little bit careful with my health at the moment, but I am getting ready to teach in-person workshops. But I have mostly been working online for the past 2 years, and I'm finishing a course. I have one more week left. But all my courses are in a digital format that you can buy on sandraingerman.com. And I have so much free stuff. Since 2000, I've been doing a newsletter every month. I have not missed a month since the year 2000. And it's all about inspiring you, and it's all about coming together and performing ceremony together. And I am going to be on the upcoming Shift Network Summit. And so if you get on my email list at sandraingerman.com, all that material, I have so many free articles, so many YouTube things that you could watch for free on shamanism. And then I've trained hundreds of wonderful shamanic practitioners and teachers. So if you would like to study live or with somebody in your area, or you feel like you need a soul retrieval or some shamanic healing, my other website is shamanicteachers.com, shamanicteachers.com. And then I do a weekly podcast with Renee Baribeau called The Shaman's Cave. And you can learn about us on shamanstv.com. But go to sandraingerman.com, and there's so many free resources for you to check out.
Thank you so much, Sandra. It's been such an honor to talk with you, to hear your beautiful perspective. You're such a gift to this world in so many ways. And thank you so much for, you know, your voice, your teachings, and thank you to all your guiding spirits. This has been so beautiful. I honor you. I bow. Thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate hearing you and having you share your unique medicine with the world.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you for being a real voice out there and having people be voices out there, because we're in a world where people are just searching right now, and we need people who can point people in the right direction. So thank you for the brilliant work that you're doing. Thank you. And thank you, everybody, and blessings, everybody. We are going to make it through this. But let's stay present and let's watch the omens, because they're talking to us right now, telling us what to do. I love all of you. Blessings.
Aww. Many blessings. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you're feeling inspired, I'd appreciate it if you showed your love with a review. And check out my YouTube channel where you can find the video version of this podcast. You can also head to BethAWeinstein.com to learn more about me and grab my free business growth trainings. Remember, you carry your own unique medicine, and your medicine is what we need for these times.